Welcome to the channel. My name's Adrian. Today I'm going to be talking about Denizens of the Blood Sand, which is going to be a bestiary for a world you've never heard of. And I'm sure you're already asking, why am I talking about a bestiary when there's no world, there's no lore, and this is for old school essentials? Well, I was sent a copy of this by Jeff Jones, and it's actually now the bar that I think that is set for every bestiary that I ever read. And the reason for that is because this is a bestiary that has lore, NPCs, and some really good world building just within a bestiary. Now stick around to the end because there is a little bit more coming in this world, and I'm going to just show you little bits of 3 more books that are actually coming in the series. They're going to build player options, some adventures and things like that. So I'm going to do the video anyway before I went back to Jeff saying, this is amazing. He went, do you know what? All this is coming as well. So let me take you over to the page on TTRPG so you can see where you can pick this up. When you want to, because obviously, you know, the good thing about old school essentials, if you're a fan of Shadowdark, 5e, any of those games, and, you know, D20 rollover systems, you can easily build these creatures into that world because they're all pretty much the same. Say the same system. I think you get what I mean if you're in that sort of genre. So here we have the page for Denizens of the Blood Sands. It's by RPG Ramblin' Publishings. It's currently available only in PDF, but obviously you can see over my shoulder, print on demand is coming. But this is it's a world that is based on the moon. Here we go, and it's got sort of 54 pages of monsters and creatures in it. Each page has got its own piece of artwork, which I always appreciate. I can't imagine this was cheap to put together when you actually start looking at the artwork and how beautiful it actually is in here. So we've got around about 40 futuristic mutated creatures. The world itself feels very much got a mix. It's got that dark sun post-apocalyptic aspect to it, I think, because of the sand and stuff, but there is more of a high technology feel to this because there is sort of robots and mutations in there, so it's kind of beyond that. So it's sort of Mad Maxy, but also it's got a little bit of sci-fi. So if you're not necessarily wanting sort of, you know, dark sun futuristic stuff, there's certain creatures in there, you can just take them out. I love beast guides, you know, all of these things I like reading them. I like looking at stat blocks because I'm looking for things like, you know, what could I take out of here to put in a one shot? What could I put out in here to build a whole campaign around when it's sort of like a high level creature? But so here's the Drive Through RPG page. So if you're going to pick this up, I will put my affiliate link down in the video links below. This is a 54 page hardback print on demand, so obviously, and softback is going to be coming at some stage. 32 creatures, encompasses 40 stat blocks. Yeah, because some of the creatures have got multiple stat blocks. Again, always appreciate when you sort of can level up a creature, but so we'll get into that when we go. And at the back of the book, we've got a couple of random tables to take SRD creatures, and if these creatures aren't mutated enough, you can mutate the creatures further, or if you really want to, get your players to roll on that mutation table as well, just to make them a little bit more interesting. So it's written by Zach Goins and art is by Matthew Sargent. So let's get into the book itself now. Right, so let's just jump straight over to the front cover, and I think you'll agree this is a pretty stunning book. You know, it's sort of encapsulated. So when it arrived, it's this little sort of envelope arrived, and I was like, what is this? Because, you know, several times a week books arrive, and as soon as I started reading this, I was like, I need to get the camera on. And I just messaged Jeff back saying, Jeff, I want to do a cover of this. You know, can you please send me the PDF copy because you just sent me a physical copy. He sent me the PDF, which was really nice of him, and then he just sort of said, by the way, here's a few extra things that I've got coming up with the world, which say I'll show you the front covers and a little bit on there right at the end of the video. I'll sort of timestamp that across. So here we've got some of the creatures in here. So let's get in the book. Say 60 pages. Obviously Drive Through RPG said it's about 54, but obviously you get a few extras on the PDF. So it's written here by Zach Goins, art is by Matthew Sargent, and layout by Jeffrey Jones, and editing by Robert M. Everson. We're going to see this creature as we go. And as I should always explain with these, one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to show you every single page as we go through. I'm not going to talk about every single stat block because that will ruin it. But you will get to see and have a look as we're going through. And there's a few creatures in here that really excite me. I'll spend a little bit of extra time just on those pages. Start here with the introduction, which is just going to give you a little bit about the background of the world. But obviously, like any of these, you can just easily take most of these creatures and then just put them into whatever world that you want. The abbreviations here, so it's going to take you through all on the stat blocks. So the creatures are going to have AC, HD for hit dice, THACO, don't worry, it's got ascending and descending armor class. So if you don't want to run Thaco, you can do the positive and negative modifiers in here. So the number of attacks they're going to get, how far they're going to move, the morale checks in here, the saving throws, the experience punts, how many creatures are going to appear, the treasure type that you're going to receive, as well as salvage pieces, which is the currency for Blood Sands. So here's the table of contents. Sadly not hyperlinked. I'm sure it will come at some stage if we all nag enough. So here are the stat blocks for the creatures. Then from page 48 through to the back of the book, it's just going to give you a few random tables here, say converting monsters in the SRD to this sort of world, mutations and some ruin encounters and wasteland encounters. As we get into the book, you're going to see some full page art by, say, each of the creatures here. So we've got this Arachnag, which is, it's got an elite and standard version, but that's not what I want to show. But this is what I was saying about it adds a lot of lore. So we've got a Burbalang, I think that is, which is a night terror of the wastelands and the boogeyman of ages. Stands about 7 foot tall. Do you know one thing when I run through bestiaries that I'd like to start seeing again? And I think this was a throwback to 3.5. There may have been other versions, but you know when you see this creature here, they'd actually have a standard human next to it, so you've got an idea of scale. But anyway, sidetracked again, as I always do in my videos. But here we go. So you've got the standard stats and attributes and all the abilities that it does, and then we've got 3 named NPCs. Talks about their armies, talk about the backgrounds, where they live. Again, this is what I mean about this is just more than a standard bestiary. It's now building out the lore of the world, and it's going to give players 3 NPCs, different stats and attributes, and slightly change the standard creature in here. Really good idea. It's not a lot, but it just changes. So we've got the Black Mantis here, and that's going to have some different modifications you can add to it. The Blight Stalker with some random adventure encounter ideas. Again, it just takes the... I'm going to stop on this Burrowmaster because I love the idea of this Burrowmaster. But it just takes the idea of a standard creature, but gives the Games Master more tools to actually make those creatures a little bit more interesting, and how and where the writer envisions that you use them. But this Burrowmaster, many-legged, dozen-handed, 12-foot long, millipede entity with the face of a man and the disposition of a merchant. This creature basically burrows through the sands, finds things, and then sells them back to people around the world. So that there's no ill will in here, and it's going to talk about its burrowing speed and stuff. And we've got some Burrowmasters, so we've 2 Burrowmasters of the land that's around, and when the players encounter them, we've got a D12 table here of potential trinkets and additional items they might find. Cactus Stalker, here we go, Desert Scion with some additional frequent mutations. We then get the Diamond Tribe Salvagers. You know, this is another tribe that's in the land. It will give you an idea of some scavenging loot so we're going to get. And then if that's not enough, we've got 4 points of interest in the world that you're going to find them. Again, just building more and more lore. So we've got Gobbos here. Yeah, I think we know what they were going for, with some standard mutations, and we've got greater Gobbos as well as, then the Golden Empire GIs with sin. It's like a really little thing, but here we go. Some insults, just some things that they're going to shout during combats, and some notable groups. Got 3 different groups in here. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going through this, and so this is why this is that bar of what I want to see from everybody else now when they are doing any form of bestiary, because it's just more interesting. It's actually managed to take standard creatures and bring them alive. So Oasis Ogre here, standard stats and the things that you'd expect, but different strongholds, where they're going to be, how many they're going to contain, some additional notes about their appearance, how you can find them just wandering around. But that's not enough. Here we go, we've got Slime God Gult and Robert Toe, 2 named and specific NPC Oasis trolls that the players can discover. Ruby Town Salvager, Rasper, this is going to, what's this, 30 to 40 foot long. Some of these things you can look at and go, yeah, I do know that is absolutely massive. But the brain gel behind this, well, I'd said Zach and I have spoken several times, and he's such a prolific writer, but this is just such a more interesting, I keep saying this, more interesting way of actually running a bestiary. I said there was, what is the 32 monsters in here, 40 odd different sort of changes to the stat blocks. And we get a techno-priest, a telegonite, which is, I guess, is some form of troglodyte, but a sort of high-tech thing with this screen for a screen, which is well, you got the Soul King and then the Hulking. So what this one's worth 50 XP, this one the Hulking is worth 200 XP. I think you can see why that's going to be a little bit harder to take down, as well as a couple of encounters here. And finally we've got this Vlox and then the Zeta, which we saw from the inside of the front cover here. It's the leftovers of the deathless civilization that sealed themselves into a long forgotten vaults. Sound familiar, Fallout fans? Then we've got the encounter tables here. So by ruins, by first to fourth level. Then get wasteland encounters broken into barrens, dead zones, deserts, oasis, and settlements. Some new environmental terrains in here. Changing the SRD monsters, so you're going to roll in D100 3 times. And then, as I said, we've got this mutation table in here with some really good mutations. They're not totally broken. They're not the sort of thing, you know, sometimes you can have mutations that you look at it as a games master, you go, I hope nobody rolls that. But even if you're going to roll regeneration here, which, say, get the players to roll on this table as well, you know, you're going to recover 2 hit points per round. It's all right. It's not going to be game breaking. This one's quite cool. Seep. You can squeeze through small holes and cracks. So yeah, it's just going to sort of change your game up a little bit if you're going to allow the players to roll on those mutations. But obviously, you know, as a games master, you can be rolling any of those just for any of the creatures, just to make them a little bit more interesting and change them. But say you've got 40 odd stat blocks, you've got a fair amount to go at. But it's that lore and the additional NPCs that makes this really special. But if you are worried about just taking a bestiary, and which obviously would make for great one-shots and things like that, but if you want to flesh out more of a world, I'll just show you the other 3 books that I don't know whether these are available now, but I'm just going to show you the front covers, because that way, if they're not quite available, I haven't sort of breached any embargoes, let's go with. So we've got Journal of the Blood Sands Volume 1. This is building out the world, so it's got some adventure hooks and ideas, and it's got specific named locations, a little bit more lore about the world and things along those lines. So this is sort of like a world book. Then get Journal of the Blood Sands 2, which is going to allow the players to create unique and interesting characters to play in the world. And then finally, we've got Rising Tides, which is an adventure. So it's a 20-page adventure module that you can, you know, it's always a good place to start. It's a first level adventure just to get the players going. So there's more coming for this world, which I say I was more than happy with this. I was like, this is actually a really good, I've mentioned it twice already in this video, this is what I want to see coming from my bestiaries. I think 3.5, I know Pathfinder has it partly in some of its books. It has those keys, doesn't it, to tell you what sort of creature, where they're going to live, and you know, whether it's a treaty creature, what they're seeking and stuff like this. But this just does it amazingly well. Say it's because it's for old school essentials. If you play old school essentials, I think this is something you should grab because of the creatures. You know, you can add it to any sort of adventure campaign. If you want to start a unique world, you've got enough to go for some adventures, but more stuff is coming for this world. And you're probably going to expect more videos like this when I find out from Jeff how much I can discuss the other books. But as I like to do with all these videos, I don't like to find out any more than what I'm actually reviewing. So I'm just sort of teasing what's coming because I'm excited by this. It's a, you know, it's post-apocalyptic. It's got that dark sun feel to it, all the while with a little bit of high-tech sci-fi build as well. So it's why it's here, it's why it's on my camera. So if you've enjoyed this video and you want to pick this up, please do consider using my affiliate link. If you want to see more stuff like this, please do like, share and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.